Be honest. This has happened to you before. You meet someone new. At first, they feel different, interesting, exciting, like maybe this time, it's going to be better. And for a while, it is. Until it isn't. Because slowly, things start to feel familiar. The same arguments, the same confusion, the same emotional patterns. And then one day, you realize something uncomfortable. This isn't new. This is the same person in a different body. And the worst part? You don't know why it keeps happening. So you tell yourself, I just have bad luck. I keep meeting the wrong people. Maybe I just pick badly. But what if it's not random? What if there's a pattern you're not seeing? Because here's the truth most people avoid. You don't just attract people. You attract patterns. And your zodiac sign plays a bigger role in that than you think. Not because it controls your life, but because it shapes what feels familiar, what feels safe, what feels like connection, even when it's not healthy. So don't just listen to understand. Listen like someone is about to expose a pattern you've been repeating for years, because once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Let's start with the first type. The ones who don't realize they're chasing intensity. The ones who confuse chaos with chemistry. You feel things quickly, strongly, deeply. And when you meet someone who gives you that rush, you call it connection. You call it passion. You call it something real. But if you're honest, it's not always stable. It's not always healthy. It's unpredictable, up and down, hot and cold. And somehow, that makes it more addictive. Because calm feels boring. Consistency feels flat. So you gravitate toward chaos. Not because you want drama, but because that intensity feels like love to you. And without realizing it, you keep choosing people who recreate that feeling over and over again. Now here's where it gets deeper. Because the next type doesn't chase chaos. They chase potential. The ones who fall in love with what could be. You see the best in people, even when it's not obvious, even when it's not real. You look at someone, and instead of seeing who they are, you see who they could become. And that version? You fall in love with it. You invest in it. You try to build it. You give your time, your energy, your patience, hoping one day they'll grow into it. But most of the time, they don't. And you're left holding on to a version of someone that never existed. But instead of learning from it, you do it again. Because deep down, you believe people can change. And maybe they can. But not because you want them to. Now let's talk about the ones who seem the most independent, but repeat the same pattern anyway. The ones who choose people they can't fully have. You value your space, your independence, your freedom. And you don't like feeling tied down. So without realizing it, you're drawn to people who are unavailable, emotionally distant, hard to read, hard to reach, because it feels safe. There's distance, no pressure, no full commitment. But over time, that distance becomes a problem, because you start wanting more clarity, more connection, more consistency. But they can't give it. And suddenly, you're stuck in a situation you never fully chose, but also never fully left. And somehow, you end up in the same dynamic again. Different person, same emotional distance. And now, the last type. The one that hurts the most. The ones who accept less than they deserve. You don't ask for much. You don't demand perfection. You just want something real, something stable, something that works. And because of that, you tolerate things you shouldn't. You ignore red flags. You justify behavior. You make excuses for people, not because you're weak, but because you're patient, understanding, loyal. But that patience, it becomes a pattern. You stay too long. You accept too little. And you convince yourself it's enough. Until one day, you realize it never was. But by then, you've already invested too much to walk away easily. And somehow, you end up doing it again. Now here's what connects all of this. Because none of these patterns feel obvious when you're in them. They feel normal. They feel familiar. They feel like, this is just how relationships are. But they're not. They're reflections of your beliefs, your emotional patterns, your expectations, and your zodiac sign. It influences all of that, not by controlling your life, but by shaping what you're drawn to, what feels comfortable, what feels like home, even when it's not healthy. So the real question isn't, why do I keep meeting the same people? It's, why do the same people feel right to me? Because once you answer that, everything changes. You stop chasing chaos. You stop fixing potential. You stop choosing distance. You stop settling. Not because someone told you to, but because you finally see the pattern. So be honest. What do you keep attracting? The chaos? The potential? The unavailable? Or the ones who give you less than you deserve? Because your answer is the key to breaking it. Drop your zodiac sign in the comments and tell me what pattern you've noticed in your relationships. And if you're ready to stop repeating the same story, subscribe, because in the next video, we're breaking down the one thing your zodiac sign needs in a relationship, but almost never asks for. This isn't about astrology anymore. This is about awareness. And once you see the pattern, you can finally change it.